Oh, hello everybody. Good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Good morning, you are watching from the other side of the world. Uh, Today we're gonna have a very special guest, Travis Ross, and we're gonna be talking about, among other things, most likely, the pros and the cons of doing your self fulfillment when you are in print on demand. Many of you know that I started doing my own fulfillment and I quit. Travis started doing it and he still continues to do it. So it's two different sides of the coin. So we don't intend to have, controversy here, but it would be nice to know like what you guys want, what you guys want to know. Are you doing it? Like what is your questions about that? And then we can jump and answer any other questions that you may have about print on demand. As you may know, Travis is in many different platforms, and so he has a lot of experience, and he's been in a lot of different groups. I have got to know him a little more now that in Clubhouse, although we haven't been in Clubhouse in a while, but kind of like fading away the all the spark of that.
Yeah, it was super fun when I first got on, and then now I just kind of I'll like go on Clubhouse and I'll see something and I'll be like, I don't want to go in this room because there's only 10 people and maybe I don't really want to talk. I don't want to, so I end up not going in the room,
Yeah, it was frustrating because I used to go and there are people in all levels of, and influencers on low levels of experience, and some were giving advice that I was like, I was cringing. And I didn't want to jump and disqualify their thoughts. So I was like always biting my tongue. It was very, very frustrating. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. It's not, it's like I'm pretty sure that the advice they're giving, they believe in, but bottom of the heart is the best interest, and maybe it works for them. But and yes, then it happens that it's always the same. The questions start to get repetitive. So I think Clubhouse it was a nice experiment for a while, but. I don't know. I liked it a lot, but I don't see it now long term.
It's still fun. I still I enjoy it. Just, if nothing else, I'll, be outside, just kind of sitting out on the patio or whatever, and just having a conversation or listening in on a conversation. I've enjoyed some of the Bitcoin discussions I've heard, that's kind of the hot topic right now. But yeah, I mean, it's a new platform. I think people are having all kinds of different experiences with it. I've already seen, I've seen like people, in my opinion, taking advantage of other people, trying to sell wares and peddle their crap. And, and I just think you've got to be, it's the new platform. So the wolves are going to come out and, until they bring the hammer down on top of them, there's going to be some sad stories, unfortunately, because it's the new social media platform. But overall, I think there's good experiences to be had. You can really learn some interesting things, and I've already learned some interesting things. And so you take the good with the bad. Just what a segue into fulfillment and and drop shipping. You take the good with the bad.
I have learned a lot. I have gone into those ClickFunnels marketing, channels.
Yeah.
And listening to those guys that are, the Tucoma Club guys that are making a lot of money in marketing is super interesting for me. So I go and listen to those things, and I have learned a lot. But then at the same time, you got some. It's amazing how many millionaires exist in our circle, because you got these channels, the millionaire circle, and everybody's a freaking millionaire. It's like 100 people watching in that channel. It's like, really, that many? Okay, I guess I'm missing on something, but yeah, it's a very interesting world. Actually, I just read yesterday that Facebook is incorporating like that type of technology, the Clubhouse deal, into Facebook groups coming soon.
Really? Interesting.
So that capability, so that we can have like instead of having to use the lives, we can actually do the voice with the Facebook group. I think that will be more attractive to me, because I like talking with people. Use two different platforms, and not everybody is there, so it gets more complicated. But anyways, let's go back to focus.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How do you get started? Why do you start fulfilling your own products?
Sure. I, like a lot of people in the e-commerce world, got my start really. I mean, I sold eBay, way back in the day, but that was just kind of, just whatever I could find every once in a while. I flipped a few things, but really got serious 2015 or so with retail arbitrage, going to the store and scanning the clearance section and figuring out what was going to, sell well. And I was doing that for probably 3 or 4 months and got laid off from the job I had at the time. And
same story as mine, I guess.
Really? Yeah. And so once that happened, I was like, well, we had a little money from the sale of our house because we had moved for this job that laid me off. It was really, really crappy, honestly. But so we had some money, and I was like, let's just give this a shot. I think we can make this work. I mean, if what I'm seeing is actually what I'm seeing, I think we can make this work. So I jumped in full, just both barrels blazing, and jumped into retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, was going out all the time to all the stores, jumped into some private label. We still actually have some private label brands that we sell on our, Amazon account in particular. We ended up starting a conference called the Rocky Mountain Reseller Conference. And it went on for 3 years. And the second year, I overheard somebody talking about sublimation, and they were talking about sublimating coffee mugs. And when I heard that, I was like, well, that's interesting. That's really kind of cool. So I looked into it a little more and realized that I already have experience with creating listings because I do private label. I know how to do this. And I've got all of these designs because I'm on Merch by Amazon, and I've got thousands of designs that I've had designed for me. Why don't I just use these assets, in a different way? And so I started listing these coffee mugs on Amazon, and to my surprise and delight, they started selling like crazy. And I just kept listing and listing and listing and listing, and they kept selling and selling. And so I'd got a little double press that I found on eBay, and that was like a Chinese brand that, lasted me 3 months. I think I ended up going through like 5 or 6 of ththose things before I actually.
They were like $80.
Yeah, they're like $100, $150, depending on when you bought it, and then I converted an Epson printer to print the sublimation dyes, and and just kept going like that. Eventually, I decided I wanted to have my own space. I had an opportunity to get a mug oven, which is like a pizza oven. Basically. It's just a conveyor, and I had an opportunity to get one, and it was a great deal. And I'm like, I don't want to have this in my garage. So I moved into a facility, and I was there for a year. And this was just a little north of here. I'm just north of Denver in Broomfield. This was in Longmont, which is a little further north. And I bought a DTG printer, which is direct to garment printer. And we were doing a little bit of fulfillment for other people, but not a lot, mostly just mine. And we did okay, but at the end of the day, my overhead was just too high. I was like, okay, I've bit off more than I can chew. So I decided to pull the plug on it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to convert all these listings. And oh, by the way, by that time I was already also selling on Etsy and Walmart and Shopify, and but it still just wasn't enough, because I really was focusing on mugs. I didn't have enough t-shirt volume to really honestly justify the printer purchase. And, I'm just being real here. This was a big lesson for me. So I moved back to my house, and I outsourced all of my printing, and started drop shipping, thinking, you know what, I want to have a lifestyle business, and I want to do, and that lasted about 9 months. I got so tired of just sitting at home. I got fat and drank a lot of beer. That's about all I did, and it just wasn't for me. I needed to go to the office. I need to be going. That's why I loved retail arbitrage, because I could go to the stores and I could be doing something. I just felt like when I was at home, I wasn't doing enough. And so I had an opportunity to purchase a lot of equipment from another seller who basically allowed me to purchase his equipment. And then we made a contract to where I would fulfill his products for him on these pieces of equipment. And it also obviously allowed me to start listing other products, because now I've got other pieces of equipment. And so now we have 6 different printing methods. We have DTG, sublimation, laser, embroidery, UV, and vinyl. And we could do all those things. It's really, really cool. I've been really excited about the UV and the laser. Those two machines are really, really cool, those technologies. But yeah, we've just been learning a ton, because just like sublimation was at the beginning, these are all new processes to us. So we've had to really kind of start from the beginning in a lot of ways. Luckily, we had, them as they moved out here for him, the guy I bought it from, and his production manager moved out here for a couple months and during Q4, and helped us and, trained us and basically boxed and made stuff and did the whole deal for us. And so we learned a lot from them, and we've had techs out that have helped us, since then as well. And just continually drinking from the fire hose. But that's, I know that's a long explanation, but that's kind of where we're at today. We've been in this current facility for almost 6 months now. And if you do the math, you can figure out that we moved in right before Q4. It was horrible, the worst possible time to do that, but we made it through. And a lot of temporary workers, and and here we are on the other side of it. And we're just really kind of gearing up and trying to get ready for next year's Q4, which is, that's the most exciting time of the year for people that are doing print on demand, or people that are selling e-commerce in general, I guess.
Yeah, last year was kind of a blessing in disguise for print on demand, I guess. You were in the right position to make money. You made a lot of money, but it's pretty funny how you actually started kind of the same way I did, right? I started eBay in 1998. I went to corporate. I worked corporate all the way to 6 figures. I was there happy, but I got bored. And in 2015, I told my wife, hey, I want to start doing e-commerce full time. And she's like, you crazy? Like, yeah, I'm going to start doing it until I get, actually in 2014, I told her that until I get, the money that I make, and then I can quit, and then I can stay doing that. They promoted me to manager, and my company went under, and they let me go around May 2015 or something like that. So I was already doing retail arbitrage with Lego and stuff like that, and I was going to buy Lego, Walmart, scanning, blah blah blah, doing all these toys, and and then I started doing Amazon Custom in 2015, because I got this email from Amazon saying, hey, you want to do Amazon Custom, right before everybody got the emails for Merch by Amazon. So I said, Amazon Custom sounds interesting. So I went and bought me a couple of those, mug pressers, and I was doing my Amazon Custom products here, in my garage, since I was laid off. I had the time, and money would be nice. And I did pretty darn well. That when Amazon Merch told me, you want to be in, I said, no, I don't have time for you. I went and did that. Actually, Chris Green started saying, going. So I finally did it in March. And well, then they invited me to join the merch ticket and stuff like that. I went, I got to meet everybody in merch, and it was very nice. But I hear you. I wanted to be at home, but I started getting bored. I started getting more into doing courses and more into print on demand. I started doing less and less and less virtual arbitrage. So I started studying more home. So last year, I actually, around April, actually around this time, I was about to lease a retail place where I was going to make a gaming store. Actually, there's lives that I went and showed and stuff like that. Super excited. I even have I bought my, all my register system, and Sears went under, and I bought the whole shoe section of all the racks and everything. So I got all the furniture that I need to actually furnish a 2,500 square feet, gaming store. I have everything. And then, the day we were actually going to go look at the place inside, we had already picked it. Said, yeah, I liked it. We had already made a schedule to go inside and actually take a look, so that we will start negotiating the contract. When they started with the whole COVID and stuff like that, and then we went into lockdowns, and of course that never happened. So I have no idea if I'm going to open it, but right now I have my garage full of, literally racks from Sears.
That's crazy.
Crowded with all these wooden sections, and and all these carousels for the watches and stuff like that. And I have a lot of board games because that I started buying inventory, and then Amazon says that I cannot ungate me anymore. They gated me. It's a big mess that I have all this deal, but I really want to get out of the house. So actually, my wife and I have been talking about, hey, it's probably time to start looking into an office like you. Get out of the house because my God, I don't drink beer. I'm getting way used to eating here, which is even worse. Hello, Gregory. How are you? So yeah, so I mean, it's funny how the dates and and kind of like the vision. So what we do have kind of been very parallel. You in Colorado, me in Texas, very different places. But anyways, so mugs and everything. Mugs are very easy to make, but at the same time they're difficult to sell. You need to really figure them out. How do you figure that out? I mean, it's a lot of people go into investing into the Chinese deal, pressers and and getting the sublimation paper, and but then they brought by the wrong mug, or they have the wrong temperatures, and then they waste a lot of product, and they don't have the qualities. Let's talk a little bit about your struggles when you started doing this and how you figured it out. So that we can figure out the pros and the cons of this business.
Sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about sublimation, because I mean, that's how I started. And yeah, I have cases of burned mugs, and that's not just from starting out learning. I mean, obviously I did, you have to learn, like we call it the recipe, and it's a recipe of pressure, temperature, product. There's just all these different things that, you can tweak to, ink. The different kinds of ink will sublimate differently. Papers will sublimate differently. Printers will print the ink differently. You got to get your print profiles right. I mean, there's a lot of little details like that you just have to keep going and figuring out on your own. And then at some point you have to go, that's good enough, and you're okay with what you've got. But so it was not only just starting out and figuring that out, but then those particular Chinese presses that I had would start, they would start like not heating the right way, or, they would have cool spots, or they would heat up really hot. And there were all these different factors that changed
balance. They would close like this instead of closing. Yeah. They would close like this, and then you will get overcooked at the top or less cooked at the bottom. I mean, I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of the issue was bad equipment. And the other part was just inexperience, and so, I mean, you can get started with, inexpensive equipment, but know that if you continue it, you're going to absolutely move up to, a better equipment. And since then I've learned, I've found some vendors, or I've found some different products that work a lot better, that aren't like, I think Geonite has a mug press that's like $800, and I ain't got no time for that, but I can find one, I can get a pretty good mug press for about $350, as opposed to the eBay $100, $150 ones,
But you have an oven, you don't need a press. I mean, all you need is clasp, right? You need to clamp the paper, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, so the press, so it's literally a mug press, and so you pull it down, and then it's got like the clamp.
Yeah, the one like that is fancy.
Yeah. So yeah, there's all. I mean, you had them, so yeah. I mean,
I didn't have that. I had the ones that were like a little thingy that it was the hole. You will drop the mug, and then it will.
Okay.
Pop.
I know what you're talking about. I know the company that makes those. They don't make those anymore.
They were painful, but I'm talking about 2015, okay? And
right.
And I had about 20 of those, and it was always one that broke, and that's the reason why I had 20. But they were so cheap; they were like $90 each.
Yeah.
And and it made sense. I was making about $7 to $8 per mug sold, so I'm like. Hey, if he made me 15, I broke even with the machine. Yeah. So anything that was extra was profit for those things. So, and of course, he made way more than 15. So it was still a good investment, based on the times and that I was doing Amazon custom, that I was able to customize when a lot of people were not doing customization. It was very rustic, to say the least. When you do something Amazon custom, it's like literally. There's nothing much to customization. It's not. But then you were getting some very crappy things, like I remember one guy that sent me an order for 20 mugs of a picture of the toilet with the, with a turd. And he wanted to print 20 mugs. And I'm like, why? So I messaged, he's like, is this real? I mean, it's like, yeah, these are jokes. I'm gonna send a lot of friends a piece of me. And I'm like, okay, got it. So, so it was uncomfortable. A lot of people will send me and stuff like that. So I had to be very careful when I opened the pictures from Amazon, what was coming in, but the money was good. But I just got, it was a point that I was like working so many hours and then having my garage full of mugs and dust and, trying to always keep it at the same temperature that I said, what, it's not worth it. I can get it for cheap, printed by somebody else. And at the time, some company came that had an integration for Amazon Custom. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Let's do that. And then I moved on. But okay, continue. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No.
You're really bringing me to
I'm bringing you back.
Yeah, you're making me memories. It's not very often that I talk to someone who actually has done the things that I have. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think back about, during those times we were, it was all in my basement. I had a couple guys working for me. We were still doing the retail arbitrage. So sometimes they would shop, sometimes they would do mugs. I mean, talk about, a crazy job. I'm going into this guy's house, into his basement and pressing mugs, or I'm going into shops with his credit cards and buying shirts and games. And, it was a crazy job, but yeah, it was, we had the advantage of being in the basement, so we didn't have to worry about, as much of the temperature changes and those types of things, but it was still, those early presses that we had ruined a lot of mugs. We also had we had to figure out a system for, and everybody in print on demand has to figure out a system for themselves for like trademark and copyright and all that stuff. So we had to figure that out. And this is all early, before any of the softwares were out there that can help you do some of this stuff. And so we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, figuring out what worked for us. And making a lot of mistakes along the way. But like you said, the money was just crazy. It was really good. And you get into a Q4 and, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, man, you are just working your butt off, but your bank account thanks you in January.
In the old group, there is still a video. I cannot get it out. I lost the original video, but in my old group, there's still a video that you can see that I was in Q4 at my friend's printing demand facility here in Houston, because he was printing by the time my product, and he told me, Fernando, I don't have enough employees. I don't come help.
Yep.
I actually went to help my supplier pack my own orders. So packing about 800 orders, and the video is literally, and I wish I could. I think I'm gonna see if I can record it, from the screen. It's like I'm literally just printing, and then you see the people they're like crazy producing. It just gets to the point that it's just you literally just printing money. If you know what you're doing, Q4 can actually make you or break you. If you go crazy with ads and they because they get expensive and stuff like that. So you have to be also careful in the borderline on how you want to do it and how you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But you have your own fulfillment, and it becomes a total nightmare. Because you are not ready for what comes, especially the very first year you're doing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We were lucky. We had, this last year when we kind of jumped in with both feet, not only for our own products, which always, we do a ton, but now all of a sudden we've got this really big client that has a lot of products. We're talking millions of listings, and we had to hire a ton of temporary workers. And there were a lot of really long days, but you think about it, we're kind of beating the dead horse, but it's only a limited amount of time, and you could turn it off, but again, it's a limited amount of time. Why would you? Let's just get through it, and then we can kind of relax a little bit after the holidays, and then have this nice cushion that'll help us get through till next year. That's kind of how it goes. It's a cyclical thing.
Usually we go nuts until the 20th. Well, this year was different because of the mail was
Yeah, it
slow.
was so messed up. The mail was horrible this year.
Cut short early this year, but usually we are on the way to the 20, working full time, 2 shifts probably, and then it just gets relaxing, and then we get to actually enjoy the holiday with the family because we have nothing to sell, nothing to worry about. All the time, some people complaining that they didn't get the order, and and those ones get managed by VAs. But then the beginning of the year is kind of slow, so you get to relax a little bit, and then you get your thinking hat and start working again.
Yeah.
It can be exhausting, and some people cannot keep up with that. I mean, I remember my very first quarter four. People kept telling me, "Wait for the quarter four, wait for the quarter four. It's gonna be crazy," and I'm like, "How crazy can it get?" I was selling at the time was selling literally Legos, and I was selling toys, and I was selling watches that I was literally going to all these retail stores used to buy them and sell them. And I said, okay, I bought enough. I said, okay, I have all this inventory. I'm ready for quarter four. I was sold in 3 days. And now I'm going every single darn day shopping. And I was listing from the stores and selling them before I even paid them. And it's stupid, right? And you're like, I haven't finished shopping and I have to shop again. It gets nuts, And I said, no, I cannot do this every single year. It's not to be doing that. So because it was just too much. You go into the retail stores looking for products, during quarter four. Yes, you make a lot of money, but at the same time, and then there goes the returns. But it's nuts. It's nuts how you can get and how you can absorb your life. So what after the mugs? What was your next product?
After the mugs, we did T-shirts, and started that at the other facility, and we had been selling them. We started listing them, started just putting basically a lot of the same designs on the T-shirts, and frankly, just never took off. I don't think we had enough. We were basically competing with all the Merch by Amazon sellers by that time because Merch by Amazon had been out for a couple years by then, and so I think. And I don't know what your opinion on this is, but I think T-shirts on Amazon as a whole, it's somewhat saturated for the one-off kind of trying to, chase the, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's, those types of shirts, and I mean, our designs are good. They're not incredible. I mean, it's not just text-based crap, and I shouldn't say crap because I mean, some text-based designs do great, it totally depends.
You're gonna trigger me right there,
Some do really well. I mean, but I mean, it really depends on when you actually listed that thing. If you listed a text-based mug in 2015 and it's got 500 reviews, it's probably still selling for you, and somebody who listed a really intricate design with the exact same phrase 3 weeks ago, they're not getting any sales hardly at all. I mean, and obviously there's keywords and there's listing, strategies and all of that stuff that kind of plays into that. But
people say that is niche saturation, but it's not true. You cannot saturate a niche. What is called in Amazon right now is that it's a keyword saturation. I mean, whoever has the keyword at the beginning is going to run with the keyword for a long while. And you just bring more and more and more and more, but the keywords are dominating, in the search results for so many times that unless you get creative with keywords, and how creative can you really get?
Right.
When you want to say Christmas shirt, it's no many ways to say it. So the first years we made, 2016, which my first quarter for in Merch by Amazon, and I made a lot of money. It was with people who are still making a lot of money. And 17, it wasn't that great. 18, it was like, yeah, I'm done. And I haven't uploaded in probably 20 months now.
Yeah,
I still sell things that I uploaded, in 2016. I still get some checks. Nothing. I mean, it pays the car bill probably. That's about it. Nothing more. But I haven't done anything. Literally nothing. And that is because I was one of the first 10 people that actually had the pop sockets. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have absolutely nothing. My pop sockets are still selling in the original ones because I was the first one that actually had them listed. But other than that, no. I'm not a fan. 2016, I did sell a lot of shirts using Rapid Creators, the original Rapid Creators, not the one that New last announced. The original one was by an Australian guy called Matt Edmonds. and I had about 55,000 listings on Amazon. I was at one point with that, and they were selling really well. But by 2017, Merch by Amazon took, you started catching up, and yeah, it wasn't a business to sell t-shirts anymore. We were selling other products like mugs, and they didn't have hoodies, so we continued selling hoodies. We continued selling sweaters. Once Amazon had those things, yeah, it was over, and we didn't sell in the amounts we once used to sell. So I said, yeah, I don't sell. I haven't sold print-on-demand products on Amazon probably in 2.5 years or so, because it's just, you're competing against merch, and and people racing to the bottom. It's really not it's not really profitable for me to go into the terms and conditions, have to deal with the returns, have to deal with the trademark Nazis that are always looking for ways to report you for nothing that you don't need. I mean, even though they have a trademark, they don't really have the rights because they don't really have a brand with them. They just have a fake trademark. If they come to me in my Shopify store, they say they have the trademark, I tell them, sue me. Go ahead. I dare you to sue me. I want to win, and I'm going to sue you for damages, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to get everything you own, because they don't own it. They own a fake brand. First of all, to be able to use a keyword, a trademark, you have to have a website, you have to have a location, you have to really have a brand around that word that you trademark, not just to say that I put it on a shirt. That is not a trademark. That is just a word, a phrase that you're using on a product that has no legal ground. So in Shopify, you come and tell me that, I'm like, just laugh. I'm like, bring it. You're not going to win, and I'm going to just counter sue you, and it's going to get worse for you, because I'm going to sue you for damages and everything. So nobody ever proceeds, because they know it. They don't have absolutely zero grounds with those fake. But in Amazon, they go and say, I violated this enough, and now you lose your account. And I don't know you, but my Amazon account is worth, even with no product, is worth a lot, because I am ungated and absolutely everything. So I don't want to lose that account, just because somebody reporting me for a dumb shirt I probably sold twice. So I no longer have print-on-demand products on my Amazon stores because of that same reason.
Yeah, I've gone the opposite direction. I mean, I've really gone really wide with a lot of niches, and have thousands and thousands and thousands of listings. I haven't done as much apparel. I've done more drinkware, because Merch by Amazon isn't doing that.
Yeah.
But we have in place, with our systems to check trademarks and active trademarks. And even if it's not trademarked in the category that, if it's not trademarked in drinkware, we still won't put it up there, because Amazon may or may not give a crap and they may ding my account anyway, just because an active trademark, even if it's like, throw pillows or something, and I'm selling a coffee mug, they could still come after me, and they have, so I've never been suspended. I mean, knock on wood, I've never been suspended. And, but I have had some intellectual property violations, suspected intellectual property violations. But yeah, I've really had great success with print on demand on Amazon, as well as Walmart. We've done a lot of print on demand there as well. Again, mainly drinkware, although we do also have some shirts on there. And because merch isn't a thing, on Walmart, we see, actually, I sell more shirts on Walmart than I do on Amazon, through Seller Central. Now I also have I have actually 2 merch accounts, one for my wife, one for me. And they, like you, I haven't uploaded in, 2 years or more, and they probably do they pay my car payment, and that's about it. So yeah, it's the same. It's very similar when it comes to our Merch by Amazon experiences. But as you're talking about, like, the differences or the pros and the cons of having your own facility versus drop shipping, or having somebody else create your products. I was thinking about that, because I was like, man, there's a lot of cons, frankly, to owning your own facility. I mean, one is just the upfront cost of all these pieces of equipment. I mean, it's thousands of dollars you've got to invest to be able to actually start printing. So unless you have thousands of listings already, and are getting lots and lots of sales yourself, or you have, a lot of people that you can contact that will allow you to sell their or print their stuff for them, it can be a little prohibitive, unless you're going to kind of start small and maybe spend $1,000 or something like that, just getting, a mug press or a heat press or and a quick sublimation machine. And you're just going to start slow and build it from there, which I've seen a lot of people do that. We have a podcast called the Print on Demand Cast, and I've been contacted multiple times by some of our listeners who started listening to our podcast and are now sublimating coffee mugs because of what they've learned, and obviously not just through our podcast, but through other. They were inspired, and then they went out and they figured it out. And I've had people ask me a bunch of questions about that stuff, and that seems like a lower barrier to entry. And to your point, it seems coffee mugs have become more and more saturated because of that. I think it's because it's a lower barrier to entry, but it's still possible. I mean, it's still possible to jump in there and then eventually have a DTG machine or, get a laser. I freaking love my lasers. I have two Epilogue Helixes. They are amazing. They are incredible machines, and they can do really cool things. And then you can pair that with a UV machine. And so I can do like a really cool acrylic UV print or something. And then I can cut it out in a shape on my laser. And all of a sudden, this $10 piece of acrylic, that I put in my UV machine and I put in my laser machine is now worth $150 because it's art. And it's like really nice. So, I mean, there's some upsides to it too, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And, I mean,
movie printer is like what, like 20,000, 30,000, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
but I mean, today is because you want to buy, right? And a laser edge in a laser, it's what, at least 8,000 or a cheap one.
For a cheap one, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
the thing about it is though, if you're thinking about this as a business, I mean, just like you were going to, if you needed equipment, I mean, you got lucky and you found a Sears that was going out of business. But if you needed equipment, you'd go lease it and you'd pay it off over 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or whatever it was, and you'd have a small monthly payment. And so, you have that small monthly payment, and then that's only X number of orders that you have to fulfill before you're in the black, and yeah, you have that kind of hanging over your neck. And some people have, everybody has different feelings about debt, but in business, I think it's an accepted expense to have, equipment debt, because that equipment is what's actually making you the money, beyond just what you're paying for the debt. You're the debt, servicing the debt, but it's actually paying for your employees and your lights and your salary, and your livelihood. And then when it's gone, or when that payment's gone, all of a sudden, I mean, you're off to the races, So there's a lot of creative ways to go about that. I mean, this last year with COVID, I mean, the reason I'm sitting here right now is because I got an EIDL loan, which was an incredible amount of money with an incredibly low interest rate that pays off over 30 freaking years. I mean, it was, it's like 1.5% or something like that. It pays off over 30 years. I mean, it's just, who wouldn't take that? I mean, I could literally put that in the bank, pay it down, and inflation. I mean, right there, it would probably be better than inflation. I mean, it's just, so there's a lot of creative ways, I guess, to get those expensive machines. But you don't have to start that. You don't have to start that way, I guess, is what I'm saying. What were you saying? I didn't hear you.
No. Yeah, 1.5% interest is literally inflation free. I mean, inflation is higher than 1.5% right now. So whatever the cost of money is going to be pretty much washed, because of the increase of the money. So 1.5 is literally 0% interest. I mean, if you look at it that way, it's crazy. And yes, I mean, believe me, I would love to have a UV printer. It's something that there are not many print on demand companies that actually offer print on demand services with a UV printer, other than Custom Cat has these ugly tumblers that they provide, the water bottles that they have. There's not many suppliers that have the UV printing. So I mean, you are in a big advantage right now, because you go with that product and you don't have that much competition. There's a lot of laser edging, but sadly, it becomes a problem with that, right? You go with laser etching when all these tumblers came out with laser etch, the ones that were the color ones that it was laser etching to the stainless steel. When they came out, I made very good money because nobody had them. But then people realized that you can buy this laser etching machine for very short amount of money, and that the tumblers were really not expensive if you buy them off brand. And now you were going to Etsy and finding them for $18, $19, which was literally my cost. So I couldn't compete with those anymore. So that product is no longer in my catalog. I'm out of business competing on Etsy, because people are bringing them from home, and they are still making a good amount of money, from them. But I just cannot compete with them anymore. I will have to buy me a machine and do it, and I just don't want to. But some people may say, you know what, this is a good business. I want to get in, because people are still buying those laser etch products, in stainless steel, and they are really not that difficult to make.
No, they're not. Laser machines and UV machines are both basically, they're very similar. What you're doing with them, it's very similar. You're basically setting a home point and, feeding in the data to the machine, and then, pressing print. It's not super difficult. Another advantage of having your own, printing supplies and, printing ability to print your own stuff is the local market. We've done a lot, and I have not advertised one bit. I literally posted a job app on the local Broomfield, Facebook community page, and said, hey, we're looking for an operator for, a DTG machine, local print shop, here in Broomfield. I got 3 jobs from that. 3 people contacted me and said, hey, I need some t-shirt. One was a one-off that it was like a birthday gift for her husband, but she had no art or no nothing. It ended up being like a $40 t-shirt because, it took me, 10, 15 minutes to design it, and then I had my girl print it, but I charged her for the art time and, the whole deal. And then another job was like $250 worth of, so that's not print on demand. That's not apples to apples. Like you could do that, if you, but you'd have to outsource it, and then you'd have the shipping and all that. I can say, come by my shop and come get it, and they will. So that's the other side, I think, another advantage, but same thing, caveat. It's also a disadvantage because I have to actually print it. I have to communicate with the people, or somebody does in my organization, a salesperson, a graphic designer, somebody has to communicate with that customer and go through all that, that whole thing. It's similar maybe to doing custom on Etsy, you do have that back and forth, but you can, a lot of times on Etsy, you can kind of outsource that potentially, to somebody overseas. You can't really outsource that if you're a local print shop. I can't, if you can, contacting me via Facebook or via, my website or whatever, I'm not going to send you to, across the world so I can get cheaper labor to have you talk to that person. And, that just doesn't make any sense. You need to talk to somebody that's in here. So my labor cost is higher with that, but overall, that is a stream of income that you can't really get if you're doing the drop shipping model of print on demand. You can, but it just doesn't, I don't think it makes financial sense.
Yes, I have a brother whose wife does print on demand from home. She has a bunch of different machines. Like those ones that you get the tumblers and then they print an image and then they glaze them and stuff like that. All of this weird stuff that they do on Etsy. But she doesn't want to sell on Etsy. She doesn't want to have a Shopify store. I have tried. I even told them take my course free. You learn how to do a Shopify store and sell it. And she's like, no. She loves going to Facebook groups, and local Facebook groups, those ones, the buy trade Facebook groups, and she's always full of orders. They come from them. I'm like, why do you want to deal with one-offs in locally? That you have to deal with the customer in person. They're gonna go to your house. They're gonna have to, it's like, why do you put yourself in that situation? She doesn't want to pay fees.
Yeah.
So it's. And it's the mindset of some people, right? And some people like to do that. And she's always literally busy. She always has orders. She's always delivering, and I'm like, okay, that works for her, and some people like it, some people don't.
Hmm.
I mean, going back to, Amazon, what I used to do, I had those edible ink printers. They're pretty affordable. They're about $400. And I had a bunch of, edible paper and cake toppers. I used to do a lot of cake toppers. Sadly, Amazon sent me I was doing this because I didn't know better at the time. I didn't know any insurance, stuff like that. Amazon sent me a letter, hey, you have to have insurance. I contacted my insurance, and they wanted me to have a stainless steel, area so that they can verify that I had the permits from the city to handle food. And I'm like, it's paper, but I said, you know what, it's not worth it. The expense and stuff like that. I said, you know what, never mind. But it was very profitable. I mean, literally a sheet of paper was like 30 cents, and some edible ink. And I just put it in the printer, and people would send me their images on Amazon of what they wanted. And I would just print them and literally put them on a cardboard envelope and ship them, and they will get them. Now they're more popular. Now you go to the stores, and some Kroger's may print it for you. You actually pay them, like, I think it's like $15 per sheet. I used to sell them for about that much, plus shipping, and people will pay because they want to have a very specific, cake, right? A one sheet or two sheets or whatever, they will pay for that. And I really had, for a little while, for about 3-4 months that I did it, I really had a very good market corner, in that area because of that Amazon custom. I was able to offer those products. And it's still a lot of people, I go from time to time, I go and check there's competition, and it's really not much. There's not a lot of people doing it because a lot of people don't think about doing edible paper, and doing,
Yeah.
edible ink. And the barrier entry is like the mugs. It's not a lot, it's relatively cheap to get one of those printers and the inks, and literally it's like those inks for the cake, but it comes in, in cartridges, and you buy these big old bottles and you use and they print. It's a very interesting business. But I said, you know what? I always have my fingers red because of the red flag. And I was like, yeah, nah, I don't want to do that. But if somebody wants to do something like that, go and search. You will find a machine on Amazon, I'm guarantee you, a very good brand for about $400. And you will find a lot of paper for like literally nothing. It's about made of sugar, literally sugar on paper.
That's crazy. That's awesome, though. I think another, I think another consideration, I think that caused me to kind of go back into production was my personality. I like the idea of team. I like the idea of, having other people around me. And so this opportunity to have kind of a staff, and, we've got, 5 people here and some VAs as well overseas. And just having that camaraderie and kind of that team mindset. I didn't have that when I was, sitting at home drop shipping. It just wasn't. I still had, I had one employee at that time, and then I had, my VAs, but just partially it was because of COVID. We just, we didn't meet. It was very isolated, and I didn't like that. My personality, I want to be around people. I want to see people. Again, going back to my retail arbitrage days, going into the stores, I enjoyed that part, talking with people in the lines and the cashiers and whatever you're always trying to get to a manager so you can make a deal, for that, that whole clearance aisle or whatever. I enjoyed that. And I think this whole journey, you remembered all that? What'd you say?
I made so much money. I mean, I would literally go, I said, I want to talk to a manager. What for? I want to buy this whole aisle. And they were like, what?
Exactly.
And people didn't think, but people would be like, oh my God, this is like thousands of dollars. It's like, no, you will get it for like $1,500 really money. They will use this specific, really? Take it. It's like, and sometimes we'll get so much junk that it will go straight to the trash can, but what you kept will make you a lot of nice money. And but I really miss those days, like going and buying a whole aisle and then going to my minivan and saying, crap, this doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So it's like, now what did I do? It was one time I actually stayed outside and I started gifting things. So like, do you want the shopping cart? And it's like, because all the leftovers, I don't need this. I was like offering him for free because he was like, things that I was going to throw away anyways, but they didn't want me to throw it in there. So I was
That's hilarious.
I was just gifting them. It was like, okay, I'll take some of that. Like, whatever. It was weird. I miss those days, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah.
I, sometimes you have to grow your business, and and sadly, doing that, going store by store, unless you start sending people to do it for you, you're limited by the time and the effort that you can actually put into the business, right? And I started noticing that I was hitting a barrier. That's okay. I mean, I can only find X amount of product. I can only do this much. I can only pack this much. Here in Texas, we don't have anybody, that actually does the packing and for you, like some other states where it makes sense. Here in Texas, we don't have them. So you have to pack yourself or get somebody, from outside and come to your house and do all this stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm very limited. I need to find something that is more scalable. And that's what I found print on demand. No inventory, I could scale it as much as I could afford in ads. And that made more sense to me. And, I still do print on demand. I still do retail arbitrage because, Lego is amazing and toys are great. But I've been doing toy purchases since 1998 in eBay. So I know toys. I understand toys. I'm a toy collector myself, so I'm a little child, gray hair and overweight. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I get excited about that stuff. So
no, I don't even remember what I was saying. I think I was just talking about the different personalities, and I think over this whole journey, I've of kind of having doing the retail arbitrage thing, going into the store, or going into the production myself, coming home, and now being back in production. It's taken me that long to kind of realize that, okay, I think this is what I want to do. I kind of like this. I like having a place to go to. I like having these people. I like the R&D part of it. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos and I've watched about UV and laser and and it's just it still is exciting, thinking about all the different products we can do. Now, I'm kind of one of those, I have shiny object syndrome. So I always am, like, oh my gosh, new thing. And, I'm always looking for the new thing, and I get really excited about it, and I can lose focus on what's most important. And I know that about myself. And so, I have an operations manager. She kind of, I give her permission to be like, wait, that's outside of the boundaries right now. We don't need to focus on that. This is what we need to focus on. And so, but I can't help but be excited about the possibilities, even if I can't like work on them and really scale them out right now, because there really are. And so I don't think that it's going to get old anytime soon, where, you kind of come to a place where, we systematized creating listings. I wasn't hardly doing anything. It was just, coming up with a few ideas and giving them to the graphic designer who gave them to the, the person who researched the, made sure the trademarks were good. And then they created the listing, and then they put it on the spreadsheet, and then they uploaded it to Amazon, and then to Walmart, then to Wish, and then to, all these different places. And like I said, I sat at home and didn't have a lot to do. Now, could I have found other things to do? Of course I could have. But I didn't have the motivation, I think partially because I didn't have those other people around me kind of pushing me and keeping me accountable to being the CEO of the business. You know what I mean? Like every day I come here and I'm on the floor, I'm in my office, and I have people that are here that expect me to continue to work and continue to, grow the business. And so, for me, that works. For me, that keeps me motivated, and it keeps me excited, and it keeps me moving. So, there's definitely pros and cons to both. And I love that, we kind of talked, or, we kind of decided this is going to be the topic because, we were joking about it earlier. You were talking about how, you kind of miss, the ability to print your own mugs, but at the same time, you kind of don't. Well, I kind of miss being able to just have other people handle all of my production, but I kind of don't, and so there's definitely, different strokes for different folks in the end, I think.
You see, I missed it because I'm the kind of guy who, even though I don't look at it, I'm the kind of guy that likes to get his hands dirty, right? My father was always very mechanical, very stuff. We used to strip cars down, remove everything, like remove the paint, and do like remodel cars and everything. So I like mechanics, and so getting into I know how to use probably almost every single print-on-demand machine that is available. I probably have used it at some point because I have many friends in the industry that when I go, I always say, "Can I learn how to use the machine?" And they say, "Sure, go ahead and use it. Let's figure it out." So I know, and I missed that part. I don't miss the part of, okay, now I did it. Now I have to pack it, put it on a cardboard, and put the stamp. That part I hate. It's not the part I like. I'm the kind of guy that I can afford to take my car to the mechanic. I mean, and I know it will be way more time efficient, and it will be completely, everything, and it's something that I shouldn't even bother. But I am the guy that is like, oh my God, the brakes are failing. Yes, I'm gonna lift it, and I'm gonna remove the tires. I'm gonna remove the drums, and I'm gonna take it to the to AutoZone to get rectified. And now I'm gonna install it. And I'm like, I'm gonna get dirty. So I miss that part of my day, getting into a machine and stuff like that. But I just don't like I literally have an order that somebody ordered for something that I had stranded that I should have sent about 3 days ago, and I forgot. I just remember right now. It's nothing to do with print on demand, but it's an old watch that I didn't even remember I had on Amazon. But it's the part I missed. So would I get back to it because I missed that? Nah. If I ever go back, is to actually put a facility like yours where I will have somebody to control it, and I can focus on what I know how to do. And when I want to get my hands dirty, I said, okay, now I'm gonna go help them. I'm gonna print something, but I want to have somebody take control of the of the floor management, and not me doing that. If I go back, it's because I want to print something and I want to mess with the machines and help fix them or something. But it's not something that is in my year plan at this moment. Because I have other things that I need to accomplish.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it's important for people listening that to know you don't. There are two options. You don't have to own the equipment. You don't have to print it yourself. That you can make a really good income having other people do it for you. And at the same time, for some people, like myself, it's just something that we want to do and we enjoy, and it's become part of my day. And I have I have a manager that a production manager, and then we have techs that actually pack it. But a lot of times, somebody calls in sick or whatever, I'm out there doing it, and that's the flexibility and the the variety, I think, that I really enjoy about having no 2 days are the same with a production facility. So for me, that's great, and for others, they would rather someone else do that so they can focus on other things. And there's nothing wrong with either way. It's just two, like I say, different strokes for different folks.
And I mean, you look at it like in a negative standpoint, you have only one machine, it breaks, and now your production is completely, bottleneck. So you always have to think about, okay, if I'm going to have one, I need to have another one just in case another one breaks, right? So it starts getting into that situation. But also think about all these people that had a sewing machine and knew how to sew, and there comes COVID, and they made thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars selling masks because they were like, I'm going to do my own my own product at home. And that happened to a lot of those people that had the print on demand, shirt printers or 3D printers, or those 3D printer guys that were making those little things for the back. They were selling thousands of those things because people wanted something to help them with I don't even know how you call it, the strings or whatever.
Oh yeah, so it didn't get your ears.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
They made bang with those things. The ones that were making the skis to push the doors. That was dumb. That was dumbest thing ever. But they sold thousands of those because they have 3D printing machines. So having your own equipment can get you out of a very nice, can put you in a very nice spot at the right time. But sometimes you will start with, then you will say, well, what about if I don't get the supplies because the supply chain was destroyed? Well, yeah, you can go in different angles, right? It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of what you want to do. It's a matter of how you want to take your business, how serious you want to go into that, and it's how you see, half full, half empty, how you see the glass. We have had a lot of people watch, but very few questions. So, I mean, we're literally at the hour. I mean, so it's about time to wrap. But anybody has one or two questions that you would like to ask Travis before we wrap this up? Otherwise, I want to thank him for his time because, it was for 1 hour. It's already 8:02. Anyone has a question you would like to ask him? Because believe me, we have been a lot of people have been watching this.
That's cool. That's
Great
good.
idea.
People have.
That is for true. No questions? They're free. I don't charge for questions. Anyways, wrapping thoughts.
I feel like we said it all. I mean, someone asked, how did you get into selling at Walmart? I applied.
I knew what was going to come out eventually.
Yeah. I've done a few shows with different people talking about that. Also on one of our podcasts, we interview somebody and talk about that. I mean, the long and short of it is I applied, I went through the whole deal. You gotta have a legit business. They're not looking for hobbyists on Walmart. And you got to be able to show that you have a store and, that you're a legit business. You have to basically, you have to be able to say that you've done X number of dollars. It changed. I got on probably 3 years ago. And it's a little bit different now. But yeah, I mean, I would not go in saying if you're, hey, I'm going to do print on demand. I don't think that they don't want, again, they don't want people that are doing print on demand. They want legitimate businesses. Now, you and I both know that print on demand is a legitimate business, but I don't think I think that there are enough hobbyists doing it that it can potentially give it a bad name, particularly to a multi-billion-dollar company like Walmart. So that's a very short answer to a very intricate question. And we could do another hour just talking about Walmart.
Yeah, I believe you were a Merch Money.
Yep, did a Merch Money thing on Walmart.
Go to the Merch Money channel on YouTube or Helen Kinson, and she did this interview about what was that? About 4 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah,
you will find that that interview. What is your favorite product to sell?
The one that makes me the most money. Come on. I mean, what kind of question is that? I think honestly, if I have to answer that honestly, that my favorite product to sell, and this is going to sound silly, but it's the next one. It's that design that I hadn't seen sell yet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest. That's the coolest design. I didn't even know we even made that, and then I'll see it, sitting on the shelf. One of my techs made it or something. And I always get tickled when I, walk out and I see one of our designs that, so I was like, I didn't even know we did, we were in that niche or whatever. And it makes me laugh. I love it.
I don't even know what we're selling.
A lot of times you don't. We have, tens of thousands of listings. So a lot of that stuff, gets made and put up there, and then it doesn't sell for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden it sells and you're like, you had no idea it was even for sale.
When I started doing graphic design, I knew I was a custom, so I didn't have to do a lot of design in there, right? It was more like fill the blanks. When I went into merch, I got a bunch of designers from Fiverr and stuff like that. I had no idea what I was getting into, so they gave me a bunch of junk. Mm-hmm. And one day, at the time, my daughter was 9 or 8 or something like that, and she drew these awful marshmallows. It was like, you go roasted. He said, you go roasted. It was one marshmallow that was on fire. It was hand drawn, ugly as hell. And she said, I want this on a shirt, Daddy. And I'm like, okay. So I go, one of my designers in Fiverr said, can you digitize this? And I put it on merch. Well, that crappy shirt got me under, $25, 100, 500. It's so like freaking crazy.
That's nuts.
And to this day, it still sells. And every time it sells, it gives me one of those giggles. My daughter gets all the proceeds from that shirt, because I told her that, okay, if it ever sells, and she still gets a check every darn month because that shirt sells. But it just makes me smile so hard, because I'm like, it just showed me how much I didn't know of an industry that now today I get to talk about, that I love, that I enjoy, that I'm recognized, as a person that knows about it. But I started with a shirt that I thought it was ugly, that I just did because my daughter wanted to, and it became my bestseller. And actually, that was the main reason why I started getting recognition in the industry, was because my daughter made a shirt at the age of 9 that was selling and still sells. So it's just nuts. It just shows you how you never know what is going to sell.
You're right.
And believe me, it's ugly. But I think that is why it sells. It's like it sells great in children's sizes. Now it used to sell in old sizes. But anyways, I want to open a store, but having a hard time choosing a niche. Any tips? I think your next store, Callie, needs to be on general, because you already have one in each, and I think the next one will be great on general. So you can, but general with like 2 or 3 niches, like, so that you can start seeing which one you get a market to attract to build momentum on. But we can talk about that, later you want to, because that's completely off topic. But Travis, closing comments, and and we can wrap this up. I mean, I don't want to hold you hostage for another hour.
No, I appreciate being on. No, I mean, as far as production versus drop shipping, I think we've compared and contrasted, and there's a lot to be said about both. And I think it comes down to, we have our podcast is printondemandcast.com. I know you put that in the notes somewhere, but we have a show that's early on, and it's called "What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up?" And it really is it's delving into this question. It's like, do you want to have like a lifestyle business where you just, you're at home and you can turn it off when you want, and you can turn it on when you want, and you can do all that? Or do you want to, jump in with both feet and build something, a physical brick and mortar kind of production facility? There's options, and there's paths to both of those places, and neither one of them's better than the other. They're just different. And so I've enjoyed, just chatting about that with you. And I hope people kind of have a new perspective on it, or a better perspective on, and maybe are starting to think about which one they want to do. Yes, I appreciate it. I mean, I think we have a very consistent audience today. I mean, I think the conversation was interesting to them. Otherwise, people have crickets, right? And I really appreciate, honesty. I mean, it was very refreshing to have this conversation. As I said, you brought me back memories, and it's often that I get to talk to people that I have, I mean, you and I have never really spoken, one-on-one. So it's nice to see how we kind of have, I mean, different. Right now we're in different deals, but how we got started pretty much the same situation, both of us, because we went full time by force, and here we are, 6 years later, we're doing this and happy about it. So I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. You, as soon as this is ending and you are logging in, you can watch it again. If you're watching from YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. I will really appreciate it. And with nothing more to say, thank you so much, Travis. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you soon. See ya.